Chainsaw Man Part 2 started, but it's only in like Shonen Jump. There isn't like a volume yet.
All right. Well, I hit record.
I have now hit record.
All right. We're already live. Nice and easy. Get the show done because I hunger. Probably going to do some night biking on Friday.
I might do some day biking on Friday.
Because night biking is unique and special. We do day biking all the time.
There's a lot of places that you can't bike during at night, but if it's day, you can bike there.
Yep. I think with the group of people going, we will be limited in our range. So,
how about people just suck it up and keep going? Let's wake up early and just bike and don't stop.
I think speed will be more of a factor than determination.
We can go slow.
I think we wouldn't get very far.
That's my style. Go slow and just don't stop.
There is a sort of minimum speed.
I go far by not stopping, not by speed. Just keep pedaling all for hours.
Yeah.
Get real far, even going slow.
Yep, that's how I approach those long runs. I'm running 8.5 minute miles, and I just keep going. I'm not like running. I'm just running.
I don't think I could run like a 10-minute mile.
Well, I mean, at this point, it's funny. Like I've trained enough to even my doctors like, yeah, like this is sports medicine stuff. I can't help you anymore. But I'm going to compete in that half, and I'm going to try to win my age group in the Queens half.
Oh, well, what did the age group bury?
Yeah, so I'm at the bottom of the next age group now. So I got a few years to shine.
There you go. That's what I'm saying.
The last few races I ran, I was at the top of my age group. That's why I was always in like second or third place.
It's like in boxing, the opposite, right? You want to be at the top.
Yep.
Right? So if it's like, oh, between 150 and 155 pounds or whatever it is, you want to be 155, right?
The other fun thing is, overall, like on a short race, like I'll never do it overall.
Boxing weight classes, exactly. I know they're really small. Like
yep. So the fastest 5K I've ever run was like a little over 6.
Wow, they're smaller than I thought. They're like 3 to 4 pounds. Like super flyweight is 115. Right?
Oh, for someone who's not like a ridiculous like person in that sport, a significant bowel movement plus a big meal could put you multiple weight classes in either direction.
Minimum weight is 105. If you're not I guess if you're 105 or under, you're minimum weight boxer. Right? Then so 105 or under is minimum weight boxing, which means if you're 106, you're in the next group. The next group after minimum weight, right? Is light flyweight. So 106, 107, and 108 are all light flyweight.
I would literally skip that weight with one meal.
As soon as you're at 109, you are now regular flyweight. And by kilograms, it's basically a 1 kilogram difference. 48 kilograms and under is minimum weight. 49 kilograms is light flyweight. 51 kilograms is flyweight.
God damn. So the smallest weight class I actually knew about, because
52 kilograms is super flyweight.
My dad would watch boxing a lot when we were kids, but welterweight was like, he was always like, welterweight is where the good fights are.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, so there's minimum weight.
Yeah.
Right? Then there's flyweight, bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight. No, hold on. Flyweight, bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight, welterweight, middleweight, heavyweight, cruiserweight. Right, and then super heavyweight. Right, which
I didn't even know there was anything above heavyweight.
Well, yeah, and all of those groups have a light, like a super version and like a lower version, right? So it's like for bantamweight, well, there's lower bantamweights, and then there's what is it? Oh, bantamweight, super bantamweight, right? So there's like So yeah, welterweight is like welterweight, super welterweight.
I just remember heavyweight was two big guys just wailing on each other, and welterweight was two guys running around each other, basically.
All right. So it seems like this light heavyweight is 175, right? Then there's cruiserweight, which is 200. So they suddenly make a big jump. And then there's after cruiserweight, it's like unlimited heavyweight, like all the giant.
Yeah.
So that's for, so there were traditionally that many.
Oh, the listener pointed out, because I started the stream, a lot of those classes only apply to the Olympics and are not used in professional.
No. This website I'm on has all the different ones for the different types, right? So there were traditionally 8 divisions, and professional governing bodies now recognize 17 divisions, which are the ones I was talking about. The Olympics has a different set, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is 10. The Olympics have
so it's less
divisions.
Damn.
Yeah. The Olympics have 10 divisions, which are, right?
It's almost like those sports don't actually work anymore, and weight is the sole determining factor.
Well, there's a lot of determining factors, right? It's like,
Yep.
Women's Olympic boxing only has 3 classes.
Yeah, we got to deal with the cutting is a problem in those sports, too. All right, anyway, let's get the show going.
There's a lot of problems.
Yeah, one of many.
Bashing people in the head problem.
Yep. I prefer
like all the boxing we ever, it's like boxing has merits, right?
Well, here, I'll put it this way. In all of my mountain biking and skiing combined, I have hit my head at all twice ever. And only one of those was enough to even ring my bell. I've never even been like knocked out or like stunned.
Well, I mean, I think, the way I think about it, and I think I've said this before on the show, even many years ago, because my opinion hasn't really changed, right? Is that you look at some other sports, like just recently, somebody broke the same guy keeps breaking the pole vault record, right?
Yep.
It's like people are getting better at pole vaulting. You look at gymnastics, people are getting better at gymnastics, figure skating, right? Doing things that haven't been done, pushing the limits, right? People are getting better at hockey, right?
Yep.
Better at baseball. They gotten too good at baseball, right? Boxing, at least, maybe someone out there probably will say otherwise, right? Probably some boxing nerd, but at least from my point of view, right? I don't think there's been really progression in boxing, right? It's like if you could time travel Muhammad Ali to today, right? The prime Muhammad Ali, it's like he would probably beat the living shit out of all the people boxing today, right? It's like, there wasn't really, there was.
I mean, fencing hit this sort of limit where
if you got young Mike Tyson today, if he just never got old and messed himself up, it's like, he's still really dangerous as he is now, but it's like he's not going to lose to really much.
I also appreciate the nature of boxing that either of us taking a punch, even prepared from any of them, would be instant death.
Instant death, right? But yeah, so the point is that it's like there could be another person who comes along who would be as dangerous as those people were.
But it's not like hockey where we have manufactured a system that creates a bunch of Wayne Gretzky's every year now.
Right. So it's like there isn't really any reason to have more boxing. It's like we've done all the boxing. Right?
Oh, wait, that's the take we had on hockey fights. We've got enough to watch hours of them. I can go watch a compilation of all the hockey fights I could possibly need.
See on YouTube the best boxing there is. You're not going to be able to top that easily or ever. We can just watch those. We don't need to do it more, especially when it's so harmful.
Yep.
Just stop doing it.
Of course, you notice boxing is in decline from what I've seen. Things like MMA are replacing it pretty rapidly.
Yeah, but that's
all right. Put a little marker there because
It's like if you're going to be a painter, right? You should have your own style and do something fresh. You shouldn't just like try to paint, sunflowers like Van Gogh. Maybe as like practice, or maybe as forgery.
No, why not? Sometimes if you're good at one thing, just keep doing that thing.
Yeah, but it's like
be the Guy Ritchie of paintings.
Not really advancing the form.
No, not everyone needs to advance the form. You could just be good at the current state of the art. Are we advancing the form of podcasting?
Yes, with longevity.
Actually, I think, longevity, and we still haven't taken a fucking ad in all these years.
That's right.
Speaking of ad, okay. It's to the point where you can almost feel the ad read in like a SciShow video, like coming minutes before it starts. Like, exactly when they're going to pivot to it.
I like how Sausage Guy does it. He does they're basically sponsoring the Will It Blow.
Yep.
So as soon as he does every video is the same format. So when the Will It Blow's coming, you just tap, tap, tap to the right and you skip right over it.
Yeah. All right. We could just get started. Plenty of news. Everything's good. Got the stream live. Listeners enjoyed our boxing conversation, I think. It's Wednesday, July 27th, 2022. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight we are reviewing Sonic X, the anime from 2003. And just to respond to the listener, this was not because either one of us lost a bet. we just arbitrarily decided at the end of the last show that we would review something. Scott doesn't pay for any streaming services anymore, and this happened to be free. It just showed up. I saw it at the top of my list on like Amazon, and I was like, all right, fuck it. Sonic time.
The only streaming service I have is Amazon Prime Video because I have Amazon Prime, and because it's a whole year. It's not like even if I decide to stop, it's like I still have it for quite a while. And I'm using it. I'm watching all the Bond movies on there.
Yep.
Right? So, and I'm like, that's the only streaming service I got, Rim. What anime do you want to watch? He just said Sonic X, and I'm like, okay, sure.
So we'll get it.
It was on Prime. He saw what anime was on there. I guess that was the one he picked.
Yep. Because meanwhile, I switched everything. Right now, Paramount is what we're doing because we're watching like every Star Trek.
I'm waiting for there are things that I want to watch on some services, but
wait till there's a critical mass, then you like make a new Netflix account.
I'm waiting for a single service to have at least a month's worth of things to watch. Right?
The time for you will be, I think, when Arcane Season 2 hits Netflix. By then, there'll be enough of a backlog of good short stuff on Netflix for it to be worth it for a month. Arcane's still one of the best cartoons I've seen in a long, long time.
I think the other problem is that just, I don't watch a lot of TV, periods. Like, 90% of the things that everyone is watching, I just have no interest in. So it's like, it takes the streaming, for someone else who watches, I say the average American amount of television, Netflix would fill up with enough stuff for them to watch in like a month or two, even if they had, binged a ton of series. Yeah. Whereas for me, it could take several years for there to be enough things I actually want to see.
This is the difference between Scott, who ignores 99% of everything, and me, who only ignores 98% of everything. So there's a bunch of anime and comic and manga related news, and one to start with. So this was a minor incident that shouldn't have been an incident, but it generated enough buzz. It's worth talking about. Mostly, I kind of want to just dunk on Japanese companies for continuing to not understand this. So apparently, at Anime Expo, there was a panel about Mob Psycho 100 season. Like, there's a Mob Psycho panel. And they had some sort of exclusive where at the panel, they were going to show everyone the season 3 opener before other people got to see it. And they were like...
This happens at San Diego Comic-Con actually a lot, right? Where there's trailers and previews and all kinds of things that it's not screenings like we had at anime cons back in the day where we'd show whole shows and shit, right?
Yep.
It's like you come to a panel, they announce something, and then they show you some behind the scenes clip or a trailer or something, right, for the thing, and that is the first time that thing has been shown to the public ever. But at least for as long as YouTube has been around, the past 5 to 10 years especially, those things end up on YouTube basically right after the panel's over, at the same time the panel starts.
And also remember, these aren't like leaks.
Day, right?
These are things that will just be on TV when the show comes out. Like, they'll be on YouTube officially, like, sometimes days after the convention anyway.
So, for example, San Diego Comic-Con just happened recently, right? There was a John Wick panel. They showed a trailer for John Wick 4, and then it was on YouTube the same day, possibly within hours, or I don't know what the timing exactly was, but it was the same day as the panel, within 24 hours. So, that's just how things are these days, right? That's just the way of doing things, right?
So,
some people, for some reason that I don't understand, find value and pleasure in like being in the panel room and seeing something like a few minutes before the rest of the world. And it's like, if you, okay, sure, I don't understand it. There's no logical reason for enjoying that, but
yeah, because remember, this is not like, I don't know, the Denver Fenton Allen thing where like it was this long shared experience, and being there was probably like somewhat different and more engaging than seeing the YouTube video.
Right. It's not a concert where it's like, yeah, they're singing the same song you can hear on Spotify, but it's it's a live performance. It's not exactly the same as, right?
Yep.
It's just like, this is a video that is recorded. Watching it elsewhere is going to be the exact same.
It's a minute and 30 seconds of an anime opener that's going to be on TV.
Yes, you will see it. You can watch it all to your heart's content at some point.
So someone, of course, recorded it from the panel and put it on YouTube, and the Japanese company flipped out about it, and there's a big fight among attendees, and people were getting into the whole fear that, well, leaks are serious. If you leak stuff like this, then the Japanese companies won't give us these things anymore. And
well, that may be true because, the Japanese, we've talked on and on. There's no point in talking again about the Japanese companies have the wrong attitude about, sharing their creative works, right? And their artworks on the internet.
Someone commented on our Utena series today asking when we'd start it up again.
Right. It's like, look at K-pop is taking over the world. Korea is a smaller country with a smaller economy with, basically less. It's smaller than Japan in every conceivable fashion. But yet their cultural exports are dominating not just the United States, right? The entire world, right?
Yep.
South America, Middle East, Europe, K-pop and other Korean television, Korean movies are dominating the world in like a Hollywood fashion, right? BTS is like probably bigger than the Beatles ever were.
Yep.
Could be, right? And why? Because they just, not only do they upload like the official music videos to YouTube, they upload extra shit, right? Like everything, behind the scenes, practice videos, interviews, right? They just upload fucking everything to YouTube for free, right? If Japan did that, Korea would actually, I don't think if Japan suddenly changed its attitude, I think Korea would actually be in big trouble, right? Because, if all Japanese television, just all of it was translated and on YouTube for free, right? If it's like, if all the mangas were in English, you could just read them. It's like, shit. It would be trouble for the entertainment, media production of every country that wasn't Japan. But they don't do that. And I think the people who are saying, well, if you do these leaks, then the Japanese companies are going to, not, they're going to pull back even more. That's correct. That's what they're going to do. That's how they are.
Yep.
Right? But
I think
I don't think that's a reason to not leak. I think it's just just deal with it, right?
I would say as like some random teen who's like hanging out at an anime con, that just makes the leaks funnier when they happen.
Yeah.
Because like I said, these are not leaks of like something that's actually exclusive. That's just a little bit before everyone else will see it in a panel room that people probably lined up for hours for some reason.
Right. So even the consequence that they're afraid of, right? Oh, they won't show trailers at the cons early anymore, right? It's like, okay, fine.
I will wait in line for a long time to see a panel that is like the creators I like talking about their thing. That's the experience. Showing me a clip from the show I'm already going to watch, the show that I care about so much that I waited in line just to see the people who make it, that show.
Yeah. If they stop showing things like this at the cons because they're worried about leaks, who gives a shit?
I think the cons would be healthier for it, to be honest. The cons often mistakenly get too close to the industry, where the industry is doing things that won't actually draw more people to the con or even make the con experience that much better, but they restrict what the con can do in many ways. I remember where we really learned this lesson was at PAX's, where I remember Civilization 5 was announced, and I saw at PAX at a giant booth, and you could play like 5 or 10 minutes of it if you waited in this terrifying line. And I saw that booth, and I thought, I already pre-ordered this game on Steam. So why even engage with this booth? I already threw my money down that hole. I already threw those hours of my life away.
The time PAX East had the Portal thing, and you could play Portal 2 for like a few, some people.
I walked up behind someone else playing Portal 2 and said, oh, I think the thing that I am going to play when it comes out is going to be good based on what I see.
Portal 2 came out just like weeks after PAX East, right? People waited in all that line. It's like I spent my time at PAX doing something else and I played Portal 2 on my computer, right? Just shortly thereafter. So yeah, it's like Japanese companies, they are the way they are. They're wrong. They should change, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't leak. We should, keep teaching them a lesson. And if they learn the wrong lesson, that's their problem. And the consequences don't scare me at all.
I mean, back when I was the director of like panels and workshops at a convention, remember occasionally there'd be a panel that had like weird like restrictions on like don't let anyone bring cameras or cell phones in. And I remember very specifically how I addressed that. I put up a one sign at the entrance that said like no cameras allowed, and that was the extent of my intervention. Whatever happened.
Yep. And there's nothing, you can't, if you're in a public place, it's like, sure, there are times where it's rude or wrong or inappropriate or privacy invading or abusive to
absolutely
or videotape people, and you shouldn't do it. But at the same time, it's just it's a reality of the world, right? That like it's not all you're not always going to be able to avoid it.
Well, case in point, you know what I'm not going to do? Go to any concert that makes me put my cell phone in one of those secure bags until I leave.
Yep, never would do that. Ever.
Nope, I would not go to a concert that had that crap. And you know what? We saw Halsey at MSG. They didn't give a shit. Film the whole thing if you want. They didn't care.
Yeah, I mean, it is somewhat annoying. I go to, concert. I mean, when I was going to some concerts, right?
Well, then there's the opposite problem. I stand and there's a million people in front of me, all holding their phone up, blocking my view, recording it. That's a different problem.
That's slightly annoying, and I don't understand that either, because it's like only one person needs to do that, guys. Just as long as that one person uploads it, we're all good.
Just link to that one YouTube video. Draw lots on who gets to be the one every concert.
But I guess it's like people, I don't know why people, there's like, do people who do that watch those videos ever? Do they go back and watch the video that they recorded at the concert?
I mean,
they do.
I've never understood that. But you see this a lot. You see people who live their lives through their camera and don't actually stop and enjoy whatever it is that they're doing.
It's like, if I'm at a concert, will I take a photo or a couple photos and maybe a short video?
I would definitely take a short video because that'll be in my timeline.
Take a video clip, and I'll upload it. I'll tweet it or something like that, or post it on a Discord or.
And then when I'm 80, I'll go through my photo.
10 seconds.
Yeah, when I'm 80, I might see that video and be like, oh yeah, that was that concert I saw, back before the war.
Yeah, but it's like, if I really want to relive that exact concert, I know somebody else recorded the whole thing and uploaded it to YouTube. So I'll search for it, and there it is.
Yep.
And it's like, you don't need that many people doing it. It's like...
So, some other news. The television show, the Netflix show Stranger Things. There's an article about something happening with Stranger Things that is happening in a lot more places and has been happening in anime for a long time.
Yeah, well, I think the first occurrence of it that I understood was Star Wars, right? With the special edition, right? And that, when the special editions came out, I was like, upgraded version. But we didn't understand until a little bit after that, like, oh, they're trying to eliminate the original version, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's like most of the time and throughout history, it's like there was artwork, right? And artwork that got modified would be like a painting that someone painted over.
Which happens and has happened throughout all of history.
Oh, yeah. Or a sculpture that somebody would modify, right? And it's but when it came to books, right? It's like books had editions that were printed, but because they were distributed, the old editions were still out there, right?
Yep.
It's
or many times too, when there were new additions or updates or changes to something, even film, anything, oftentimes they were restricted to correcting an error. Like if there's a typo in your book, you just correct the typo. The typo was not intrinsic to the work.
But any form of art or publication, basically any publication, something that had a mass printing with multiple copies, right? Where copies were made in it's like whether it was music or a newspaper, right? It's like as every official printing was existing as long as someone preserved it, right? Video games that had patches, it's like you can load up any patch you want because they're all out there somewhere, right? You can buy cartridges for SNES games of every different version of Link's Awakening, right?
Yeah.
They're really minor differences that most people will never notice, but there's some bug fixes in there, right? So, but now with the streaming times, right? People aren't actually keeping copies. Pirates are, but most people are not keeping copies of the originals. And, as, we stop buying physical medias or things aren't even released on physical media, there aren't non-pirate copies of things.
Yep.
So if you make let's say you make a movie and you stream it and you decide you want to change an edit, you forgot an edit, but people have already watched the movie, and you go and you can now, if you wanted to, you could just put up a second post, director's cut, and now people can choose. Like
what happened with the Blade Runner back in the day. There was the original cut, the director's cut, the Abyss movie cut, home video cut.
Yeah, you can watch all the cuts. You can pick whichever one you want. But we have a situation here with Stranger Things. They're going back and they're editing the episodes that are on there. So if you were to watch Stranger Things now, you would not see it in the form in which it was originally streaming, unless you went and got a pirated copy somewhere. That's right. It's like, and it's sort of back to the olden days of painting over a painting and re-chiseling a sculpture, where it's like the original is gone-ish, right?
Yep.
Except for pirates. And
may or may not actually be a deep problem. Like, for example, Sailor Moon Crystal. A lot of anime airs on TV, just busted. Just like bad animation, errors everywhere. And then they basically fix the whole thing, and then they release it on other formats later.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of manga, when it's published in its original, magazine, is not the same. It gets changed a lot when they go and republish it in the Tankobon compilations, right?
Or here's a totally separate example. Say I have a website with some stuff on it. Very few websites post a changelog where you can look at every iteration of that website that they have ever had. You can't go see
Wikipedia has a log.
Yep, Wikipedia does have a log. Not many websites do, nor would I expect them to.
Nope. But newspapers, I think, should these big newspapers have some responsibility to show what the edits were. There is a website that tracks the edits to newspapers and such.
Yep. But I guess there's a lot going on here because there's no hard pronouncement to make here. Some aspects of this are good. Like, a show is out, someone notices a minor error, like a compositing error, and you fix it. Like, cool. Someone changes the plot, someone alters some dialogue. That gets into different territory. But it also starts edging into the opposite argument of fans almost get too entitled to the works, to the point that a lot of fans freak out and demand access to all these sub iterations for their own entitled enjoyment of the show and not for any archival purposes.
Yeah. It's as if, while we look at Star Wars and we're like, yeah, the original one is the good one. That's not a hard and fast rule at all, right?
No, that's actually one of the rarer cases. Sailor Moon Crystal, the new version is what everyone intended. The early version was just rushed out.
Because there's this idea that people have that just because something was the first published edition, that's somehow the real edition, the end, right? It's like actually that's not necessarily the case. I mean, if given a set of editions of something, one of them will be better, right?
Yeah. Though people may
equal and different. Right?
People may disagree. Go ask a random person which Blade Runner cut they like, and you might start a knife fight.
Right, but sometimes it's more clear cut, right? The Aliens director's cut is the best.
Aliens is only the proper version of Aliens has those auto turrets and that full auto turret scene.
Exactly. I didn't realize that until somewhat recently.
Oh, The Abyss. Go look at the Abyss was cut way more than I thought between theatrical and later releases.
Right, but here's an example. We'll go back to K-pop again.
Well,
this actually happens quite more often than you would think, where they'll put out some video. It usually happens more when the official music video has a problem. And there'll be something in the video that is controversial or causes an uproar of some kind, right? And they are very responsive to uproars, right? It's they'll fire people for uproars. They'll cancel people's contracts for uproars about small things, right? Unproven things, proven things, whatever, right? So, I've seen cases where someone was wearing a shirt in a music video and they didn't speak English, so they didn't realize that what the shirt was saying. And then they'll go and they'll take the music video down, edit it, make a whole new one, and upload it a different one. The original one's gone, right? They'll upload a music video, and one of the people, they'll have a TV show and they'll record the whole show, right? And they're going to put another episode. But in between the last episode and this episode, somebody had a scandal, right? Or at least what they would consider a scandal in Korea, not in the US, right? They'll re-edit the whole episode to remove that person as much as possible, blur them out, and it's completely, and then, it's they'll do all kinds of takedowns and re-uploads, and sometimes it's good, right? It's oh, we accidentally did a racist, let's remove it, right? oh, there was some bad audio quality. Let's fix it. You know, take it down, put up a different one. So,
or video games.
Sometimes it's bad.
Overwatch. How many versions of Overwatch have come out? They just changed the game. You can't play the old version. The new version's Counter-Strike. They added a whole new gun.
True.
Yeah. So this is just a space like usually Geek Nights, we tend to bring up a topic and then be like, and here's the way. But here, this is just a big messy space where there's a lot of room for discussion.
I think, on the one hand, I think that if you are making a significant popular preservation-worthy artwork, that all of your additions should at least be saved somewhere for archival historical.
Now, obviously not necessarily any pre-release work. You don't need to keep the changelog of the Premiere project for the 10 years.
It would be really nice for people to keep that.
It would be cool if people kept that. That's the kind of stuff I think would really be interesting to society.
Especially people want to go back and, someone needs to come and do a study on it, years later, make a documentary.
So for Geek Nights, I actually do keep the raw recording session in full, for a year for every episode before I purge them. And I keep the raw original audio forever. But the actual session I get rid of after a year.
Yeah. But, it's like, even just someone to do it, like, I go to see museum exhibit, and it's like they have all these, production, artifacts.
Or hell, look at what happens every time someone gets a hold of the original studio recording of any famous band's work with every individual track broken out. That is always a recipe for someone doing something amazing.
Yep. Anyway, but you should preserve these things, right? But it's like sometimes there's good reasons to edit, sometimes not, and we're going to have to judge on a case-by-case basis whether if somebody, does paint over a painting or rechisel a sculpture or edit something that's streaming only and now no one can see the old versions. We're going to have to see what they changed and then judge that individually over whether it was good or not.
Yep. So speaking of leaks from before, a while ago, this was years ago, we talked about it on Geek Nights, there was an animation test for a Sony Pictures Popeye movie with Tartakovsky. Like Tartakovsky work, 3D. It looked amazing. Like this animation test looked phenomenal. And we never heard of it again. That movie just never went anywhere.
Yep, this happens a lot, right? It's like, something will be not, made or partially made, right? And sometimes announced. So like
sometimes finished. Sometimes a movie will be done, like in the can, completely ready, and it just never gets released.
Yeah, but I mean, we've had cases like Mouse Guard movie or what was the other one I was thinking of?
I mean, Nothing Lasts Forever is like the archetypical example.
Yeah, but I mean, that was released-ish.
Yeah, ish.
Ish.
So this Popeye movie got way further than any of us realized. Now, it's funny. This is a leak. I watched a bunch of it. I didn't think to save it. I'm sure you'll find it somewhere, but it has now been taken down by Sony. But someone uploaded to YouTube an entire 87-minute long animatic. It is basically the entire movie, an animatic, like ready to rock. They were basically one step before starting principal animation on this show. Or this movie. And they just never made it. And the worst part is, from what I watched, this movie would have been amazing.
Yeah, I mean, people spent Hollywood, big people with lots of money, spend a lot of money, taking things pretty far, right? They spent when they option scripts, it's like they're paying screenwriters for those scripts, even if they don't use them. They're not paying much, they're paying something, right? It's like, people are buying licensing rights to make things based on properties, right? And then they don't make them, right? Akira live action movie, someone paid for that and worked on it. And Evangelion live action, someone paid and worked on that. It never happened, right? It's still not out.
Yep.
But it's like there's money that goes into producing things and they just don't finish, right? And so I think the lesson to learn here is artifacts that are created from those unfinished things could still have value, entertainment value, because there is quality there. There is art that someone put effort into.
Hell, I would say, as a selfish capitalist,
if there are legal avenues to release those things, then the people who possess those legal rights should maybe consider doing it, because you can,
Well, case in point, take those assets, release them, and if they get a big response, now you've got market evidence that if you make the real movie, it'll sell.
That's if they actually cared, right? And then I think B, though, is that if you have access to these things, I encourage you to illegally release them for the good of the collective world culture.
Yup.
And C, right, is that if you are a person who is making, whether it's art or any kind of creation, right, crafting software, whatever it is you're working on, and it's like you start 10 things and you can't finish anything, right? And it's like, and then, it's like you never get anything published or done or whatever. You just keep starting stuff and you can't get anything over the finish line, like GeekNights website. Don't feel bad, because for every movie that Hollywood fucking makes, there's like 10, 20 movies, however many, that they just don't finish. Right? It's like you just don't see those. So you think that like everything they start, they finish. It's like, no. It's like, they're all, big time authors starting 20 books that for every book that makes it to the shelf on the virtual shelf, they started like a whole bunch of books that didn't get put, right? It's like very few artists out there are finishing everything they start. So,
one last little news. I didn't think I ever talked about this on Geek Nights, but one of the things I take a certain amount of perverse pleasure in is watching a fan convention implode. Like big convention drama is something it entertains me from a distance, but at the same time, I never want to be involved in it.
I think it's definitely a privilege of having a relatively drama-free existence.
Yeah,
that I can watch drama and read about drama that may or may not. I don't even care if the drama is true or not. It doesn't really matter, right? I basically, consider. I don't, I assume it could be true or false. It doesn't matter to me, but it's like I read about dramas as if they're stories.
Yeah.
And they're often very entertaining. And if they're true, that much the better, as long as the drama goes the right way.
Yep.
Right?
Like
reason people watch a Judge Judy or whatever. It's like other people's drama, right? Or that subreddit, Am I the Asshole? Same thing, right?
I think part of it too is that we have pointedly really only, and COVID, of course, messed everything up. We only go to very well-run conventions, and we have very strong opinions about how to run conventions well. And usually when there's big convention drama, it is a convention that is doing the kinds of things that we specifically say you should not do, pretty much across the board. So there is an anime convention that you should all just be aware of. It's called Anime Matsuri, and it is the worst anime convention in the world. It is like
worst that we know of. It's in Houston, Texas, right?
Yep, it is. It's pretty big. It's been around for a while.
That name seems like there could be other cons with that name.
Yep,
right?
I'll link to some stuff so no one confuses. But they've been sued like more than 10 times by their own guests. They had at least one guest deported because they fucked up. They're the con who not only kept inviting Vic Mignogna and like the bad people around that whole sex pest situation after the court case, but they doubled down on featuring him prominently and supporting him and supporting his sexual harassment, like openly.
This wasn't a case of like, oh, we didn't know because we don't pay attention to the internet, right? We just said, wow, this guy, because there are cons out there that in good faith, right? It's like they didn't know. They just said, wow, this guy's a famous voice actor, right? He actually did voice act all these, big time roles. We're an anime con. It's like he's gonna sell us tickets. Why? They don't know anything about him. They don't know anything about the drama, and they bring him in. This con, with pretty much no doubt, right? They knew exactly what they were doing, right? They are openly the bad people.
They invite like right-wing YouTubers from the that movement that harasses the people that Vic Mignogna was harassing himself.
Right. Somebody who would be banned from a decent convention is likely to be a guest of honor at Anime Matsuri.
Yep. It is amazing how most of their guests are people banned from other conventions. But also like their lines are terrible. Like everything about this con is bad. And this con...
They're not managing the con well, right? They're just focused on just being bad. They're not...
So this fucking con has has spun up a company that is going to be a dubbing studio, and they are collaborating with good old Vic Mignogna, and they're basically, their take is, we're going to take dubbing back from the SJWs who ruined it.
Okay, sure.
With hookers and blow, I assume. Like, this is just a shit show scam, obviously. But I just really need to make sure nobody who listens to Geek Nights accidentally goes to this fucking anime con.
Who that has an anime license is going to hire them to dub?
Nobody. Absolutely nobody. This has got to be like an actual scam, but I can't prove it because I'm not close to the details. I also don't want to get sued, but if they sued me, I'm pretty sure in discovery, we would find out that this is not a healthy company.
You don't say.
That is my opinion.
But yeah, I think it is a problem in that, there are websites that catalog all the different conventions out there. Like animecons.com is like a terrific resource that shows you all the anime cons, all the info about them and everything. But they're not reviewing they're not giving you the real scoop on the con. Like, is it well run, right, etc. They're just sort of giving you informational stuff. This is when it is. These are who the guests are. This is when it started. This is how many years it ran, years it didn't run, attendance, etc.
Controversies.
Right, we need, for all the problems that arise when you have, reviews online of things, right? Fraudulent reviews, bullshit reviews, etc. Right, like a Yelp and Amazon, you can see how much problems there are with their review systems. But for all those problems, I think that those systems, at least when they're moderated sufficiently, which is not out of the realm of possibility, they are a net benefit to the greater population. You could tell it's like, yeah, there might be a bunch of fake Yelp reviews, but you can tell just by looking at them whether it's a restaurant you want to go to. We need some kind of review system for cons so that not just for people who probably just know the cons in their area and aren't likely to go to any others, but for guests and vendors who are likely to go to many cons, right? It's like it would be very helpful to them, especially to have, more detailed info about what a con is like, so that when they get a letter that's like, hey, do you want to come to this con? Or they're thinking about going to set up a booth at a con, whether it's a good idea or not, they'd have more to go on because there just isn't that much info on the internet to help you.
Yep. Of course, at the same time, for PAX, we probably see tens of thousands of reviews where people say the expo hall isn't big enough.
Yeah, I mean, you would see all kinds of, but it's like it's better than having no information.
Yeah, well, plus, right? I would apply to that kind of review. That would be a positive review in my eyes, because one thing I do, this is such a reliable method. If I'm trying to figure out if a restaurant is good to eat at, I will look at a few 5-star reviews on Google Maps or whatever, and just see if they're talking about the food. And if they are, and there's a lot of good reviews, I will then look at several 1-star reviews, and I'm looking for something specific. If all the 1-star reviews are complaining about the service as opposed to the food, the people doing those reviews are probably bad people, and the restaurant is probably amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only looking for good food, right? I don't really care. It's like there is a point at which service is so bad that it becomes a problem.
Like that, the one time you and I considered dining and dashing.
Right. But it is quite rare.
Usually what I'm looking for specifically is there's a certain kind of entitled, I was here with my children and the wait staff didn't smile at them and they are trying that. That is a sign of a good restaurant if you see that kind of 1-star review. Because the waiter who did not smile at that horrific child is the kind of waiter I want waiting my table.
Yeah, a reasonable human being who doesn't take shit from assholes.
All right, I think we get into the rest of the show. Doop, doop, a doop, doop. So, things of the day. I try to avoid doing the same YouTube channel too often as the thing of the day, but Captain Disillusion does not upload videos that frequently and talk about
so much time and effort into them. They can't make them that frequently.
It's the kind of guy who just disappears into a cave for what feels like a decade, and he just staggers out and hands us a triumph on YouTube. So last night,
but he was actually working on it the whole damn time.
Yep. Last night, I was sitting in front of the HTPC and I got a little ding because he uploaded a video as I was.
You have the bell on.
I have the bell on.
It's actually an advantage, I think, to uploading rarely is that if like Captain Disillusion is probably the perfect example of this on YouTube. It's like, I don't give anyone the bell on YouTube, right? It's like, there is no case in the world where I need to be immediately notified that a video has been uploaded to YouTube. Like, I'll go to YouTube on my own, I'll click subscriptions, and I'll see it when the time comes. It's not something I need to be distracted from whatever I'm doing to know about. But if the bell, I think the only time it would be acceptable is if somebody makes particularly high quality videos such that you want to see all of them, and they upload videos rarely. And Captain Disillusion that's exactly what he is.
Yep. So this video is pretty amazing. It's actually relevant to some of our news as well. So he collaborated with a Japanese band, ATARASHII GAKKO, like a girl group.
Who I had never heard of, but they seem cool.
And he made 3 short music videos for them with his like quality, like good God. And he broke down in detail exactly how to make them. And it is a 22-minute case study in how trippy, modern, amazing music videos are made for real, practically, in detail. And the coolest, he also
on the YouTube copyright regime.
Oh yeah, I was about to bring that up. Also, he has the correct opinions on the way copyright is enforced on YouTube.
Yep.
So, but the other fun thing about
the correct opinions on what music videos are the best.
I was about to say, so he shows a lot of music videos in the background and like speaks to them and references them. Literally, without exception, 100% of the videos he mentions or shows at any point are in my good music videos playlist on YouTube already.
Yep, pretty much.
So this video is a triumph. And now we know how the correspondents made that ridiculous video with them running around in a circle. So what do you got?
So usually, there's a hobby of making models, right? Shipping a model rocket, model train, Gundam model, car model, military models.
Yep.
Right? It's a big hobby making models. But most people, when they make models, all they're really doing is making a miniature look-alike, right? It's like, so if like you make a model plane, it's like, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's not made of the same material. It's probably just plastic in the same shape as the thing. You're making an object that looks like a much larger object on the surface, but is not actually structurally the same as that actual object, right? If you were going to make a model, space shuttle, the bottom would not be made out of heat-proof tiles, right? It would just be black plastic on it, and that's it, right? So, and if someone did make a model space shuttle at like 1/100th scale or something, and the bottom was made of heat-proof tiles, I want to see that, because that's awesome. So this dude in this video makes a model suspension bridge, which is cool. And he makes that model suspension bridge out in the woods, which is extra cool, right? Usually people are making models inside, right? Who makes models like out in nature, right? He found like a small stream to make the suspension bridge over. I don't even know if it qualifies as stream, but it's a small amount.
I would say this is a crick, maybe a creek. More like this is a crick.
A long puddle. I don't know, but he's has a body of water of some size to make a small suspension bridge over, but he constructs the suspension bridge much like a real suspension bridge with, cement. I don't know if it's concrete, but it's definitely cement, metal reinforcement, like tiny rebar, I guess, wires to, right? It's like,
that is what set me over the edge. The tiny rebar is delightful. Like that made this great.
Right, like tiny twisted cables for the suspension part. It's like it's somewhat structurally similar to an actual full-size suspension bridge. So those two factors, the outside factor and the real-like construction factor, make this really unique and awesome. And I'm sad it's only in like a Twitter video. I wish if someone has a link to like a YouTube video or I don't even know if it's the original source, but like a better source anywhere, let me know.
Yeah. If I found this like out in the woods, that would be amazing.
That would be amazing.
In the Meta Moment, the GeekNights Book Club book. It's a short book. We're probably do a show on it next week on Thursday. It should not take you long to read. Maybe
I didn't even buy it yet.
We could wait. We'll do it either next Thursday or more likely the following Thursday episode. But Binti by Genndy Tartakovsky and Space University is always a thing that we are into. So I think this will be a good read. And we are very much considering. Let us know if you think this is a good idea or a great idea. Moving into a format where each book club book, whoever's turn it is to pick, presents 2 options. And then the other of us chooses which of the 2 will be read.
Would you like to read poop or diarrhea? Would you like to? We could go the other way though, right? Because it's like, would you like to read the chocolate or the other chocolate?
There can be a lot of fun with this. It's also another
almonds.
It's a good safety mechanism to prevent another Genji. Though I am more than willing to put a certain very long novel, which is not The Count of Monte Cristo. I actually have something. I was about to say worse. It's definitely a better book, and I've never actually read it. I don't know if you've read. I do not know if you've ever read it either. So
War and Peace?
Nah, nothing. Well, I was about to say nothing like that, but that's actually not 100% true. I'm gonna wait until we decide if it's my pick or not. I've picked the 2 books I'm gonna put before you, and I'm really curious.
Of those large books that I just mentioned, the only one I've read the beginning of Crime and Punishment.
Oh, Crime and Punishment's not even that long. He's got way longer books.
I know, but I'm just saying, like,
I've read Crime and Punishment twice. It's actually my favorite of his works.
Yeah.
You know some Raskolnikov? Also, I will be live at PAX West 2022 on Sunday, September 4th, 12:30 p.m. Pacific time in the Sasquatch Theater. That's the big one in the Sheraton, with a panel. I'm bringing back an old topic with a completely new lecture, losing. Gonna talk about losing.
It's probably not completely new.
It actually will be completely new because
I'll be just saying all kinds of stuff we've said 10 times before.
No, you know what it's more like? The other losing panel that I did by myself at PAX Australia because you didn't come. It's a new version of that.
One thing I do want to say, though, about PAX West this year is that I saw some confirmations of some large industry returning. And that's, I guess, a good sign for PAX. And also, I saw that Reggie, who I guess, I don't know what his job is now, but he's on a panel there. It's like, it's not a, obviously, ask Reggie everything you wanted to know panel.
Yeah.
Right? Even though some people will hijack the Q&A and try to make it that. He's on a panel with some other people discussing, like, some other topic. But it's like, that's still really cool to see someone like Reggie just at a PAX on a panel, right? Even if it's not, the things you want to hear him saying, right? But I feel like he already had his, sort of tell all that he's willing to tell interview that you can read.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I think he's at the point where we're not going to learn any new bombshells until he's on his deathbed in a distant future.
I don't think we're going to learn. I don't think there's any bombshells left to know.
Nah, you never know. There's always surprising bombshells. But yeah. Getting a little sick of COVID because I got to make it clear. I'll be doing this panel. I got some other work to do around PAX, but if you were there, I will not be hanging out in the con playing board games. I'll be in working, and I'll be out like in Seattle doing outdoor things otherwise.
Yeah, and I got a new job, and even though my new job, I never work on Friday. I basically have 0 vacation days right now, and I actually used one, so I'm in the negative. So even though I only used one PTO day, then I'm not going to use another one for probably some months. So. But I will have enough for holiday times, to take extra days.
Let's never know. We might PAX Unplugged.
I only have to use 4 to get a whole week off, right? So
right. I doubt
and I still accrue as many. So
I doubt we will go to PAX Unplugged and play games in the con because it's still going to be a masked event, which makes that difficult. But not out of the realm. We could do a joint panel again at PAX Unplugged. We'll see how things look.
Yeah, I'm hopeful for PAX Unplugged, but I am not locking anything in.
Yeah. I mean, I will definitely be there doing a panel by myself if you don't come.
I would like to go, right? But we gotta see what the circumstances are, so,
Yep, we will see. So, Sonic X. I have the only Sonic...
Before we talk about Sonic X, right, I just got to say, when I was a kid, right, there were 2 Sonic cartoons on TV, right? And think both of them were just called Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know how many other kids of the 90s remember this. One of them was like syndicated on TV. You could see it on all your local channels. It was really easy to watch. It was on all the time. And it was mostly a poorly animated comedy episodic thing, right? And it focused on Scratch and Grounder as like the bad guys. They were sort of like a Bebop and Rocksteady kind of deal.
Yeah.
Right. And I did enjoy that as a kid. I don't know how much it holds up now, but it had a charm to it, right? It was a lot. It was much closer to like the Mario Brothers cartoon that was on the Mario Brothers Super Show, right?
Yep.
Sort of like
I think that one was the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Maybe. I'm sure we could Google it and get the right answer.
I am trying to Google it.
Yeah. There was another Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon that was on TV at literally the same time, like concurrently on TV. I could watch one.
Oh yeah, that one was Adventures of Sonic, and it only ran for 1 year. And at the 1993, the one you're about to talk about ran for 2 years, 93 to 94, and it was just called Sonic the Hedgehog.
Right. So the one called Sonic the Hedgehog was like a special one. It was, for the time, well animated, right? It was on Saturday morning cartoons only at a special time. Like you couldn't see it otherwise. It wasn't just on whenever, you know? And it was like a serial plot with all kinds of characters, right? It was, you know, much.
The hell? They were both made by DeKK? Why were there two? Now I don't know why there were two.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, so that one was like the real deal one. And the thing with that one is like I wanted to watch it, but because it was only on at like a certain time and it was serial, it's like I watch it and I try to watch it and I didn't know what the hell was going on. So I didn't enjoy it and I didn't get to watch it from the start. And it's not like what was I gonna do in 1990, whatever, buy all of it on VHS if that was even possible, download it, get a DVD box set. It's like, I'm sure I could now.
Oh my God, this Wikipedia article, the second one, the better one, considered one of the darker incarnations of Sonic.
Yeah, it was. It was a dark, like serious serial adventure, storyline. Anyway, but so I knew, right? I stopped watching television mostly around early 2000s. So I knew that there were more Sonic cartoons that had come out after those two. But I didn't know which ones they were.
So
I never watched any of them. I didn't know their names.
So there aren't actually that many more. So you know what the next one after that was? And it was Sonic way later. No. 1999, Sonic Underground.
Oh, right. Sonic
Underground.
That was a continuation of the dark one, basically.
So Sonic Underground was the third and final one made by DeKK, and it also only ran for 1 year. And then, in 1999, and then in 2003, the longest running Sonic the Hedgehog with 3 seasons was Sonic X that we just started watching.
All right, what came after that?
Sonic Boom in 2014.
Oh, Sonic Boom.
Yeah.
Is there any more since then? Or is that
No, that's it. There's only 5 Sonic cartoons.
So I had never heard of Sonic X or watched Sonic X until yesterday. I watched like 3 or 4 episodes. I forget how many.
I watched 6.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
I wouldn't have made it through 6.
Yeah, I was. It's
on my opinion of Sonic X.
I will say this before we'll talk about at the end some things we learned about the production and
That's true.
But
my opinion is not. I guess might not be the true opinion.
But what I will say is that one, it's an anime. Like it is an anime. It aired in Tokyo first.
I started. I thought it was just a U.S. show, but it wasn't. No, it was an anime.
Yep. TMS Entertainment, like it fully produced in Japan. There's a whole
it was a lot like Pokemon, right? It's an anime. Yeah.
It was on TV Tokyo, and if I have to say anything about it, one, it's a perfectly good kids show. Like if I was a kid,
oh yeah, there's nothing offensive about it for kids. If I was
not just offensive, this was better than any fucking cartoon I watched as a kid in America.
I mean, it's not
in the 80s.
Good.
Thundercat. Well, one, you said
good.
You implied that Thundercats was good. Thundercats is good by some definitions of the word good.
Thundercats is better than Sonic X.
I think they're similar.
It's better than American Sonic X.
Yeah. But The funny thing about it is I did not realize Sonic X is where that Gotta Go Fast song actually seems to come from.
I didn't know that either.
And I think that's only in the American release.
Gotta Go Fast was a song. I thought it was just a thing.
Because this,
in relation to Sonic the Hedgehog.
We have only watched the American release, which was for kids. So they cut out all the drinking and sex and violence. And you might say, wait, were there drinking, sex, and violence? And the answer is yes. This Sonic takes place in modern day Earth. Sonic and the crew and Dr. Robotnik are transported to Earth, and it's just they're fucking around with humans and giant robots are fighting, and it's kind of violent. It's not what I expected.
According to the internet, this was heavily edited. I don't know. I can't actually comment on the editing because I haven't seen the original, right? So I'm sort of reviewing this sort of messed up edited American version that's been censored and dubbed and whatever, because it's all I have access to easily and all I'm more willing to put the effort into. But yeah, it's totally believable that the original anime version was probably way better and darker and superior in every way. But I don't know how good that original one was because I can't see it, or at least I'm not willing to go through the effort of seeing it.
I did realize that I don't know the names of most Sonic characters watching this.
I mean, I knew the names of Sonic, Knuckles, Tails.
Yep.
You know,
I knew Amy, and then there's the annoying rabbit. And the little
pet.
I
didn't know the cream cheese name.
Yeah, I never heard of that
show.
Also weird that Dr. Robotnik calls himself Eggman. I always thought that was a pejorative.
You don't know the truth about that, do you?
I always assumed that was a pejorative that his enemies used.
Oh, so here's the truth about Robotnik Eggman for anyone who doesn't know, because I looked this up a while ago.
Yeah.
I was also confused. So in Japan, his name was always Eggman. It was never Robotnik. Never. His name was just Dr. Eggman. That's the name, right? In America, somebody, without permission from the Japanese, just decided to go with this Dr. Robotnik name from in the instruction manual or for whatever. You know, they just did it. Right, I guess during localization or who knows.
Well, think about what happened with M. Bison.
Right. Well, M. Bison had some reasons, but yeah, someone just fucking did it. And for the release of Sonic 1, they just did it, and the release to the rest of the world. So Japan didn't even realize this happened, right?
Yep.
And they were like, fuck, right? And basically what happened is they had this divergence where the whole world was calling him Dr. Robotnik, and in Japan, he was Dr. Eggman, and that was it. And the Japanese were upset and they wanted to fix it. So I think what happened is around the time of like Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast or something, right? They basically came up with a way to where they were like, look, his real name is Dr. Robotnik, but it basically his nickname is Eggman and everyone calls him Eggman. No one calls him anything else, right? It's like, we're just only going to say Eggman from now on. And there's like only like maybe one or two properties out there that actually have both names used. And afterwards, every Sonic property after that point only says Eggman, even though like it's canon that his real name is Robotnik, whatever. It's no one says anything except Eggman, the end.
So
it's the same character. It's not like a different character.
I did not expect Scott to drop the deep Sonic lore in this episode.
It was something that bothered me a long time ago, and I looked it up a long time ago, and I somehow remembered it.
So the plot is roughly, it's actually like it's just a serial plot until it gets into sort of a monster of the week after that. But even the monster of the week always drives the plot forward. The plot is basically Eggman has all the Chaos Emeralds. Like, it's done. He won. He's about to use them. Sonic attacks the machine, very much like what happens in the first episode of the new He-Man. And all of them get transported to modern day Earth, reverse isekai. And on one hand, if I had to summarize this show, it is just cops eating shit over and over and over again. The cops are in every episode. They're the AD police of this universe. Sonic shows up, and immediately a bunch of American cops like surround him with guns and are extremely aggressive, and also are constantly eating donuts and being failures and just disastrously handling the situation.
I mean, there's an episode I watched where Sonic had to make like an ET style rescue from what's basically Area 51 with
Area 99.
A military installation, right? And my favorite part of that episode was the cop part, because this is where I was able to notice the edits most.
Oh, yeah.
there was a scene in which there are multiple military soldiers with MP5s, like straight up MP5s, right? It's like they're just guns. And when they start shooting them, the sound effects are like lasers, like pew pew, pew. It's like you just know. I haven't seen it, but I'm like 90% confident that if I get the original Japanese, that those guns are beginning going bang 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 like MP5 noises, right? And it's like, yep.
But like,
it is.
So Sonic appears. So there's
that's how hardcore the show is you have military people with MP5s trying to blast Sonic with submachine guns.
The president gets involved later. The military gets fully involved. There's spies. The plot. This is what this actually kind of is. Take a Spider-Man like story with a superhero, and it's just superheroes and supervillains fighting in this city, and that's kind of what the show is.
Yeah, I mean, I do somewhat appreciate that, you don't have this, because it's like it sort of has a combination, right? Number one, it's weird that Sonic and his friends get like deeply involved with some random rich kid, right? Who like doesn't even need to be there.
Because you need the annoying insert kid. That's the Wesley Crusher of this show.
Exactly. But it's like this, they do keep that part, which I don't like, but the fact that, like, yes, the government recognizes it, that's a rarity. Like, Bokurano has
I was about to say, Bokurano is like one of the few shows where the weird shit happens, the first thing the kids do is basically call 911, and then the military shows up.
Right. There's too many things out there where, like, or stories out there where something happens and, like, the government and the institutions of the world take no notice. And it's like, what?
But I love how an anthropomorphic magic hedgehog appears on a city street, and immediately what happens? A bunch of cops show up and try to kill him. Like,
yeah, it's like it's somewhat real. It's not fully realistic, but at least there's some element of reality and common sense to it, despite still being a children's cartoon. But what I don't like, though, is the whole transport to Earth thing to begin with, right? It's like I always feel like, they do that in kids' shows. If it's not taking place in Earth, they feel like they had to bring it to Earth, or have human characters.
So, in season 3, they go back with the kids and some humans to the other world.
Well, we're going to talk about that, I did research on that. And the example I want to use here is Transformers, right? It's like Transformers is fine with all the characters being transforming robots on Cybertron, right? With, it's like, that's all we need. That's the good part, right? It's like the Earth part. It's like, we don't need that shit. But the people who make kids shows feel like they need to bring it to Earth, make it relatable to humans, and have human characters.
Though at the same time,
you fucking don't. You can have all anthropomorphic characters on an alien planet. You don't fucking need Earth or humans or anything. Get that? We don't need it.
Of course, that is a trope that happens in other Sonic properties too, and it is fun to see.
Pony did it too.
Yeah, but it is fun to just see. You got, basically you've got this handful of Sonic characters. Otherwise, they're just like they're fighting with cops in the street.
Yeah, I mean, that part is it, I'm not saying no one should tell that sort of reverse isekai story, that it's an invalid story, but if I get the vibe that it was done because the marketing people feel like they need to make something relatable to kids who live on Earth, and that's the reason for it, then it gives me a bad taste. Right?
But what I really appreciated is in episode 1, the cops fail, so then the cops call the super cops.
Drive Formula 1 cars.
Yep, and they go into weirdly specific detail about these Formula 1 cars to make sure this is a competition of speed, as the worst cops go after Sonic, and of course, they get crushed. Sonic just destroys them, basically.
Yep.
But as this progresses, Eggman does just try to take over the world because, frankly, the Sonic characters are more powerful than any human, and even Robotnik's, like, shitty robots are way more powerful than any tanks the military can bring to bear.
Yep. I mean, it is a problem, I do think, though, with the Sonic characters, right? In that, the female Sonic characters are more useless. Right?
Well, now Amy busts out her hammer and fucks some shit up in later episodes.
Oh, okay. The Amy I saw tried to hammer something pointlessly.
Yeah, no, she's more useful. The one who's actually useless is Knuckles.
Well, Knuckles is very useful. It's just he's got this sort of, like, at least the acting in the US version we saw was kind of meh. I'm imagining the acting of Knuckles in the original was better.
Eggman tricks Knuckles into betraying Sonic like 4 episodes in.
Yeah, but he's just got this attitude for like no reason.
But
right?
that's Knuckles' whole character in every property I've ever known.
Right.
Attitude for no reason.
It's like if you want to be the troubled loner who goes your own way, right? It's like, like Shadow the Ninja or whatever. That's cool. That character, that trope, it's out, the cliche, that's out there. We can have that if you want it. But Knuckles just has no reason for it.
Absolutely.
A reason for it.
Eggman shows up and he's like, Knuckles, Sonic is bad and you should work with me. And the Knuckles like, actually, that makes sense. And then he immediately attacks Sonic.
Right. It's like Knuckles is like, I got to go my own way. It's like, all right, you got to go your own way. Okay. Where are you going? What are you doing?
You know where he's going? He walks off scene and then just sits there as far as I can tell.
Yeah, he just walks out and he's lonely. It's like he just doesn't. He's just like the only reason he walked away is because he's too insecure to have.
Meanwhile, the other character
actually have anything else he's doing.
I guess Cream, like the bunny character. It seems like she just moves from tube to tube. She is anytime she appears, she's just trapped in one of a series of tubes.
Yeah.
So Eggman eventually starts just brings robots to the city, but that's where the toys come in because the first thing he does is bust out a robot that he calls Missile Wrist via some special trading cards that I learned are actually something that was being sold. There was like a cross promotion, and Missile Wrist, the toy, just looks like a low rent Zaku, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
And they destroy a bunch of buildings. The mayor comes out, almost dies, and the show just seems to do nothing but escalate. Every episode is just an escalation. 6 in, it was still escalating.
Yeah. So about the 3rd season you mentioned, right? So the research I did suggests that when the show was made, they made 52 episodes, which is a lot. That's 2 full seasons, right? And at the end of episode 52, I looked at the episode descriptions on Wikipedia. There is an ending to this show. It ends.
Right? Oh, yeah. It's a terrible secret of space.
Yeah. There is an ending on episode 52. But Japan was like, all right, we're done with that. The show was, I guess, popular enough outside of Japan that the U.S. sent money and ordered another season. So the 3rd season was made by the same studio. It had a Japanese voice acting and everything, right? But much like, Big O season 2, I guess. Right?
I was about to bring up Big O as another example of that. Big O was more popular here than it was in Japan.
Right. It's like they wouldn't have made it, but they got paid to make more. So that 3rd season is really sort of a new show. They come up with like a new plot of to carry forth. You can see a similar thing if you watch the original Macross television show, right? It's like after a certain number of 26 or episodes or there's some number of episodes, there's like an ending. I guess I shouldn't spoil that. I don't know. It's as old as me, right? It's a 40-year-old show. But there's an ending, and then they sort of continue the plot for another, 13 episodes or so with the characters who are still alive, right? After the ending.
Yep.
And then have a second, less, ridiculous ending, right? Because the first ending was like the real climactic ending, right? So it's sort of like that, right? It's like there was an ending, and then, okay, we'll just have another season, but the other season's really a new show, kind of.
Yep.
Picks up where the previous one left off.
But yeah, I don't really need to watch any more of this. I will still, I will never fully understand the extreme nature of the Sonic the Hedgehog fandom. Because there aren't that many properties or that many cartoons.
I think if I had been born 5 to 10 years later.
Yeah, I could see that. If this was on TV when I was like 7, I would have been a Sonic kid instead of a masked kid.
If this was on TV at the right time, I would have been watching it and enjoying it and, been all over it.
Yep.
And then I would have become, it's like instead of growing up with an NES and then 16-bit.
Oh, you might have been a Sega kid.
Right. If you were a kid who was old enough for this show to be on TV when you were 8 or something like that, that means that you were having a Dreamcast in the prime of your life. Right. So, when we were in college or whatever, some kid was at home with a Dreamcast as their main console. Right, playing Sonic Adventure as the way we played Mario World or whatever. And it's that, that's why, right? That kid's going to be a big time Sonic kid in Sonic X, while, it might not hold up so much the same way that like He-Man doesn't hold up so much. It's like, I can see why kids who grew up with this were way into it. And I can see that why anime nerds who may have seen the real version of this that wasn't edited, like the one we saw, might actually, have some reason to appreciate the quality of the show.
Well, case in point, I saw the real Sailor Moon when I was pretty young, and I got fan subs of like the stuff that wasn't on American TV, and I got way into it because it was way different from what they showed in America.
Yep, exactly. So, yeah, it's a show. It exists. I don't think anyone who isn't a child should watch it.
It is worth watching the first episode just to watch basically the AD police eat shit over and over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, there are just some funny things that you can see. I think this
like every cop has like one of the cops has this ridiculous, at least in the dub, this ridiculous like super fakey Irish accent, and he's clearly like, and he's like eating donuts the entire time while he's yelling constantly. The cops are just a tour de force in this show.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a treasure trove for making memes and other things of that nature. If you have some nostalgia for it and you can get the original, not US version of the show, you might gain some enjoyment.
I feel like you'd be better off watching this than watching either of the Sonic cartoons that came before it.
Probably, yeah. But I think, like Pokemon's a better show than this, right?
Yeah.
Either edition,
Pokemon's still going.
It is still going. But yeah, this is a Sonic cartoon. It's out there, I guess. It's good for it to exist and to be available, but I don't see much reason for most people to watch it in either form in its entirety.
And I think that is a perfectly fine show.